And time now for John Clarke and Bryan Dawe on the twists and turns in the Haneef saga.
Kevin Andrews, thanks for your time.
Good evening, Brian. Good to be with you.
You've been out and about a bit this week, haven't you?
I'm a very busy boy this week, Brian. I've never done this much media.
Can you explain to me what happened with Dr. Haneef?
Yes, by all means, Brian.
Yeah, so first of all, why are we importing doctors?
Well, that's not really my area, Brian, but I imagine that's related to the massive amount of funding that we give to Australian universities.
So the government funds universities?
Not my area, Brian, but, you know, I suppose we give them something. I don't know.
OK, so take us back. Dr. Haneef is in Queensland.
Correct.
He's arrested, right?
That's right,
yeah,
yes.
And then he's incarcerated.
Well, no, Brian, careful with your language. He is detained.
Right, OK. And this is all done in the context...
This is all done in the context of appropriate legislation.
And is it good legislation?
It's very good legislation, Brian. You can't be too careful in these areas. You've got to remember we're dealing with terrorists.
Are we?
Well, no, not in this case. Well, that had yet to be determined. We could have been, Brian, we could have been.
Yeah. So what have we established so far here?
So far it's been established that Dr. Haneef is a doctor and he's been arrested.
And has he been charged?
No, no charges as yet, Brian.
So where is he? In jail?
No, Brian, no. You've got to be careful with your language. He's in detention. He's been detained.
Well, what hasn't he been charged with?
He hasn't been charged with being involved with this terrorist stuff.
He hasn't officially been charged?
No, that's right. The media knows what it is that he hasn't been charged with, but he hasn't officially been charged with it.
Well, why hasn't he been charged?
Because we don't have enough evidence, Brian, to charge him with it at this stage.
So how long does it take to not get enough evidence?
About a fortnight, Brian.
Right, and so he's in jail for a fortnight?
He's not in jail, Brian.
Well,
I've warned you about
detention.
He's in detention.
Where is he in detention?
In the jail.
But he's not in jail?
No, Brian, he's in detention.
So then what happens?
Well, then, in the event there wasn't enough evidence to charge him with...
So no charges?
So no charges.
Right, but some mistakes were obviously made.
Well, mistakes were obviously made.
Yeah, and who made the mistakes?
The people we're bringing in new legislation to give enormously increased powers to, Brian.
So what happened to Dr. Haneef?
Well, he was deported.
You deported him?
I deported him, Brian. He was away very briskly. I mean, I thought it was a bit suspicious. I thought it was a bit suspicious how quickly he left.
But didn't you deport him?
I did, yes, Brian, but all the same, he went in a hell of a hurry.
And what happened since?
Well, since then I've been out making sure the evidence is sprayed about the community more widely, Brian.
But wasn't the evidence the problem?
It was at the time that Dr. Haneef was here.
Yeah, because he hadn't been charged.
That's right. The evidence wasn't any good and we couldn't lay the charges.
Once he'd made his hasty departure.
Evidence works pretty well post-fact, yes.
Yeah. What is the legislation? Is this the Lewis Carroll Act we're talking about here?
Brian, don't be facetious. This is a very, 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 very serious matter. It's the terrifying legislation.
Terrorism legislation?
Brian, trust me, I've seen it. It's terrifying legislation.